Welcome to the Half Hour to Health. Tonight's probably the most unique. This is kind of a glimpse into the future. Okay, if you're wondering about what healthcare is now and what it is in the future, this is how it changes. We're going to talk about changing your perception. Your perception is what happens to you, not what actually happens to you, what you think is happening to you or how you perceive that event. So if you get in a traffic accident, okay, was that good or bad? Well, you might hook up and start dating the tow truck driver. You know, so it might change your life in a radically wonderful way. If you get run over by a car, it may turn you into a brilliant chiropractor that's expert at correcting knees. So you know, it's not the event that happens. But what happens is, now this is an actual cell, it's a lymphocyte. You're going to see your perception. See these little things sticking out of the cell there? Those are sensors. And those sensors change. You actually rebuild these sensors so that it can react. So your perception changes these receptor sites. We're going to get in incredible detail with that. Now, first off, we have to find out what's our healthcare system like now? Because this changing perception changes your beliefs, changes how we view healthcare now. But what's the healthcare currently now? Now, this is out of the British Medical Journal. Selling sickness, the pharmaceutical industry, and disease mongering. When you see a journal article like this, it'd be a good idea to read it, wouldn't it? Well, first off, I love the way the Brits talk. There's a lot of money to be made from telling healthy people they're sick. Some forms of medicalizing ordinary life may now be better described as disease mongering. And this is the medical system we have now. Alliances of the pharmaceutical manufacturers, doctors, and patient groups, okay, well-meaning but totally misdirected, use the media to frame conditions as being widespread. Use the media to frame conditions as being widespread, like the hype that we have about swine flu, when there's less than 1,000 people that have it, okay, and we haven't really positively identified, it's actually less than 1,000 actually identified deaths for 300 million Americans. So conditions framed as being widespread and severe can turn ordinary ailments into medical problems. Seeing mild symptoms as serious, treating personal problems as medical, seeing risks as diseases. We're going to talk about cholesterol and blood pressure, that those are not diseases, they're risk factors. Framing the prevalence estimates to maximize potential markets. Corporate-funded information about disease should be replaced by independent information. This is huge. This is huge. What right now, do you know how many studies the FDA does a year? None. They're not a testing agency. Okay. How many they review? They review thousands. But the people that do those studies are actually the people that make the drugs. So they're manipulating the data. Now let's look at, in this seeing risks has disease. Now, is high cholesterol a risk factor that tells you that your body's under physical and chemical stress, or is it a disease? It's a risk factor, and not even that big of a risk factor, because cholesterol doesn't clog arteries. So this is not a disease, but we're spending $5.22 billion, okay, on just Lipitor. Zocor and other cholesterol drugs, $3.86 billion. So this is taking healthy people who have no symptoms, doing a blood test, and instead of saying, look, there's physical, chemical, or emotional stress in your body, I don't want you to take this cholesterol-lowering drug because it causes liver damage, and we're not quite sure of the side effects long term. They're listing them as sick people. Also, heartburn. Now, decreasing the acid in one system, does that affect you in the positive, or does it weaken your bones, cause a calcium deficiency, cause depression, and weaken your immune system overall? Is there a better, healthier alternative for that? Absolutely. Depression, Zoloft. Now, none of these are diseases. There's no blood test that shows you have these things, or aside from cholesterol, they're guesses, they're conditions. So should they be treated with a medical procedure? Well, let's find out. This guy, now when you come across terms, have you ever heard of pharmacracy? I never have. Now this psychiatrist came up with a brilliant idea. Now, he talks about the medicalization of American politics, how the government is now funded by the largest industry in the world, which is the pharmaceutical industry. What he talks about is theocracy. Okay, that's God's will. We understand that one. Democracy, that's the will of the people. Okay, a consent of a group of people to be governed. Socialism. Okay, that's, everyone should have the same economic thing. It didn't work out real well for Russia, but hey. Pharmacracy, this is what we're experiencing, the therapeutic state. Now, this is unique to the 20th century. It's the emergence of the products of the 20th century. What he talks about is the coercion of the medical establishment, or this is how pharmacracy works. It's the therapeutic state. Everybody has a sickness. Everybody needs a drug to get along to handle the symptoms, because they don't talk about living better, healthier, or stronger. They just say, you have a condition, you need this medication. First off, and this is the steps of it, the subject's condition is diagnosed as a disease. High blood pressure, cholesterol, ADD, attention deficit disorder, minimal brain injury syndrome, fibromyalgia, depression. I'm just naming all of these different conditions that people can be labeled with, and there's thousands more. So first, your condition is diagnosed as a disease. Second, intervention is imposed as defined as a treatment. Okay, so chemotherapy, surgery, radiation, whatever it is. Now, the legislatures and judges ratify these categories as diseases and treatments. We have billing codes for so many different conditions that aren't diseases. Thousands of billing codes. Thousands. Now, the reason the legislatures get involved is because in this country, even though, who's that gal that just came out with the book, Knockout? She lists, Susan Summers, okay, she lists a number of different therapies that doctors are doing in this country to reverse cancer. Okay, very effective therapies. Hundreds and thousands of patients that have reversed cancer. Legislators in this country, though, have designated that only 3 therapies for cancer are approved. Surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation. Even though chemotherapy is used 96% of the time, it's effective about 2 to 4% of the time. So it's political size. It's not actually done through health means. So this means that we got to start thinking about how our medical system is now today. So why do we need to change it? First off, coercion. Coercion is ideal in certain circumstances. Now let's say somebody in public health, let's say someone has a communicable disease. Let's say something like measles. I know, seems kind of benign. But if they have measles in a school, what they're going to do is quarantine them. Okay, and they're going to make them stay home. If you have something like leprosy, they're going to quarantine you as well. And Hansen's disease, which is leprosy, there's still leper colonies around the world. Okay, even though we know it's not that contagious. Okay, and most of it can be solved. But that's where coercion, where we force people to do a certain medical procedure, is common. Okay, does that make sense? To protect the whole. Let's look at the psychotic part of that. Now, we're medicalizing conditions. Have you heard that gambling, have you seen the commercials? Gambling is now a disease? Okay, yeah, they say it's a genetic disease and you could take a couple of medications to calm it down. Okay, smoking, you've seen the drugs for smoking. Okay, these are no longer lifestyle choices. Okay, they're actually addictions. Excessive shopping, there's actually a drug coming out for excessive shopping disorder to calm you down. I know, you're laughing. I mean, this is crazy stuff, but it's actually happening. Now, children are particularly susceptible to ranging from vaccination to ADD, ADHD diagnoses. There's no blood test for that. There's no x-ray analysis. There's no test of any kind that shows you have it. But if you look at the stats now, we're at epidemic proportion of this. So it's a made-up condition. Okay, does that make sense? It doesn't actually exist. But now, in terms of vaccinations and ADD, parents have literally been forced to where they've been taken before state organizations. Okay, and this is, the kids have been removed from their home for not taking their medications or not giving them vaccinations in some states. So the parents' rights are now being affected. So this is a huge thing. And it's against their wishes. Now, the pharmacracy is a 20th century paradigm. There's a revolution building. When I say congratulations, remember the health revolution? This is part of it. And you're going to find out that the system that I'm describing, not only is it broken and listed as the